Hey everybody, at the end of this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen if the end of the world is April 8th. If the solar eclipse is the one, I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen. This channel is about being prepared, all right? How do you prepare for the end times? I cannot wait to tell you. Thank you for being here. Hit the like button. Try to get this message to somebody that needs to hear it. But before we get started, I would like to say right up front, a wicked and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, and there shall no sign be given unto thee. Unto it. King James Version. So, just heads up. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Now, the buzzword is the solar eclipse, and everybody's doomed, and how to be prepared for it. That's the main thing. How do we prepare for that? Well, it's important what happened on this day right here, right now, matter of fact. Right now, this is Friday, this is Good Friday. Jesus has been taken off the cross, so it's important for us to understand it, right? Because this is all has to do with what's going to happen, possibly April 8th, all right? And I want to walk you through what he did, and it's crazy that it was just 2,000 years ago, like today, 2,000 years ago. Just think about that. I know the dates are messed up. We're not going to talk about that. The point is, we got to get prepared. So, he said, this is the very first part. I'll take you all the way from, well, not too far back, but my soul is exceedingly sorrowful, even to the death. Tarry here and watch with me. He was sorrowful, and he wanted the cup to pass from him. A couple of reasons why. I can't imagine wanting to go through what he did. As we get into the story, I might tell you a few things you hadn't heard before. And if you're being called, don't believe the lie that you're going to hear. You're going to hear, throughout this message, you're going to hear you're not good enough, you have too much sin in your life, your prayers don't go past the ceiling, and the Bible's fake, somebody else wrote it, and you're going to hear all those things. Just know that Satan, he's a liar. He's the father of all lies, and he doesn't want you to hear this. Amen? Can you believe that? The next thing that happened, he was betrayed by one of his brothers. Have you ever been betrayed by one of your close friends, brothers? He was betrayed with a kiss. That's hard. Now, the very next thing that happened, they came to get him, right? And Peter whipped out a sword and cut off a guy's ear. And then what did Jesus do? The next thing that happened, he blessed them. That's what we're going to have to do. When people have run over to this country and they don't believe like us and they don't have the same morals and all that stuff, guess what we get to do? We get to bless them. We're commanded to. I know it's a different tune, but I'm getting there, okay? He showed it. The next thing, and this is cool, he said, thinkest thou, he's talking about, hey, stop that. Heal the guy's ear. He said, thinkest thou that I can't now pray to my Father, and he shall presently give me more than 12 legions of angels? One takeaway right there. He shall presently give me more than 12 legions of angels. He knew how many angels he had on standby. Is that amazing? And he did it anyway. He did it anyway. What he did today, a couple thousand years ago, date's wrong, but let's go with it, is incredible. Then all the disciples forsook him and fled. If you don't believe me, it's Matthew 26:56, King James Version. So now he's got, all of his friends are gone, and everybody, they betrayed him. Let's keep going. And I'm going to get into exactly what's going to happen on April 8th. Maybe not. Then the high priest rent his clothes, saying, he hath spoken blasphemy. They told the Son of God that he was a blasphemer. He had to just sit there and take it. And he did. They spit on him, did a lot of spitting. Then did they spit in his face and buffeted him. Buffeted means to repeatedly and violently hit. Violently hit. And it says, the next verse, they smote him with the palms of their hands, saying, prophesy. And they start mocking him. Man, this is gruesome. It gets worse. Bear with me. Now, after that, Where'd it go? They said, you know, the whole, now this is, you know, they released Barabbas, a lot of people knows that. But the whole population that he was there healing and walking among them, and, you know, they were touching his garment, and it was like they were getting healed, and he was doing all these amazing things. All those people wanted him dead. They would rather release a violent criminal than to see Jesus walking on the planet. So now everybody else besides his friends and brothers wants him dead. It's hard for me to deal with. Now this next story is really hard for me to deal with. They stripped him and put on him a scarlet robe, but not before they whipped him with the cat of nine tails. Now I want to go into a little bit of detail about this because a whipping doesn't do it justice. When they got done whipping Jesus with this whip that had, and it was short. It was short, and it was leather, and it had iron, rock, and bones fashioned into hooks. They would whip a person and then yank it out of the flesh. It has been known to jerk rib bones out of the backs of people that happened to. So it was gruesome. Now they're putting a coat on him. They're putting a crown of thorns on his head. And really, we're just getting started. Now after this, they put it upon his head and a reed in his hand, and they bowed down a knee before him and mocked him, saying, "Hail, King of the Jews." So they mocked him real good. And then they took a reed, which I'm figuring they just snatched it out of his hand. They spit upon him and took the reed and smote him on the head with it, and led him away to be crucified. Now, you know, Jesus was paying this price for the Gentiles, and it says he was crushed for our transgressions, you know, and where they get that, or where I think it comes from, is he had to carry his cross on a back that you couldn't recognize as being human, and he was tied to it. He was tied to the cross. When he fell down while he was dragging this 100-pound cross, maybe a little more, who knows? That's what it's speculated to be. It crushed him. 100 pounds, trip, can't catch yourself. Can you imagine? Okay, so I'm just going by memory. After that, they drove nails in his feet and hands, and he hung there, and he was having to try to stand up to breathe because he was suffocating. And it all happened on this day. It's wild. Now, this was an interesting part that I learned from Pastor Mark. And it's the part about the vinegar. You know, they were giving other people water, and they gave Jesus vinegar. Well, he didn't want the vinegar, so, and there's a good reason why, because I've never heard this before, and I had to look it up for myself. The vinegar that the Roman soldiers used to carry was for bathing. It was like an antiseptic bathing. So they took this sponge that was soaked in bathing liquid. And there's no telling where the sponge was, and I'm not going to elaborate too much because it made me sick. And they jammed it in his mouth. And that's the last thing he tasted before he died. Before he said, "It is finished." And that's how you get ready. That's the preparedness for the end times. There's people being called right now. I'm going to talk about that right. I'm getting to the good part where this is exactly what's going to happen. But people are being called, and there's a lie that's going to be going through your head where you're not good enough. Try to tune that out. That's Satan doing it. But I want you to know that Simon and Andrew were fishing, and Jesus said, "Come ye after me, and I will make you become fishermen of men." What did they do? They didn't have a meeting and have lunch and talk about it. They forsook their nets and followed him. They're ready. They jumped. James and John, he called them. They left their father in the ship. Well, no messing around. When God calls you, and it's hard for me to say this because this is new for me too, guys. This is something that I've been, that we all, he deals with you. He deals with you and he convicts you, but be glad for it. That's the Holy Ghost is prodding you and convicting you and doing things. And there's been so many things happening in my life. I'm going to talk about it later. I sat here on this pier and gave my testimony, and it would not go up on YouTube. It was crazy. But I think God's saying I'm not ready, okay? So this is me reacting and trying to get prepared for the end time. So I think there's a lot of people getting called. Levi, he said unto him, "Follow me," and he arose and followed him. He didn't do a whole bunch of other stuff. Now, what exactly is going to happen? That's what we all want to know, right? Well, I got it right here. And it's just right here. Where did it go? Okay, this is exactly what's going to happen April 8th, if that is the date. Nobody knows. They tell you so, they're a liar. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. That is exactly what's going to happen on the day the world ends. How do you prepare? Thank you so much for being here. Have an awesome, awesome day. Later.